We look at the events unfolding in Eretz Yisrael. We can't help but be frightened, be distraught, be very sad. Here we are, barely 2 weeks after the catastrophe in Meron, and again, it's an Eis Tzor Yaakov. And yet one thing we needn't be is confused. Because confused means we don't understand. What's not to understand? All we need to do is open up a newspaper, go online, take in a couple of YouTube videos, and with all the explanations we need, all the political calculus that's involved here, whether it's Hamas, whether it's Iran, whether it's Israel's general position in the Mideast, or this anti-Semitism, the fight about the Har HaBayis, there's no reason to be confused because we have all the understanding we need. Or do we? If we take a look at the Rambam, Hilchas Tainis, the Rambam tells a different story entirely. What does the Rambam say? The Chas v'Sholom. Bad things come upon Yidden. There's tzoros. We need to take out the chatzrotzros, the trumpets, and cry out to Hashem. Why? Because that's an indication that we recognize that we're the cause of all of this tzoros. Says the Rambam, if we don't do that, we're achzorim. We're cruel. To who? Ourselves. Because if we don't take responsibility to recognize, acknowledge, and be able to react to what's happening, then Rachamon Litzlan the Bon Shem brings more. Says the Rambam, it's a pasuk in last week's parsha B'chukosai. If you walk with me in a casual way, which means you don't recognize that it's my hashgocha, that I'm speaking to you, Klal Yisroel, for your averis, then I'll walk with you, b'chames keri. It's going to get worse. Rachmana litzlan, it's going to get worse. I don't understand. Who's right? The political commentators or the Rambam? Political commentators have a very plausible explanation. The Rambam does also. What's going on? There are two ways to look at the events. There's a re'iyah, what I see is going on, and there's a shmiyah, a hearing and understanding what's going on. If you want to know all the mechanics, all the components, all the calculus of what's happening, go to the commentators. If you want to understand, if you want to know why, if you want to see this within the Darkei Hashem, they need to go to the Torah. They need to go to the Rambam. That's the difference. Many years ago, I heard from a very famous Spanish author. His name was Juan Luis Borges. And he said an interesting thing. He was 60 years old at the time, and he said when he was 25, he became blind. Said Mr. Borges that he didn't begin to see until he became blind. What does that mean? He couldn't see the world anymore, but he could see inside. I would make one adjustment to his world. Not that he could see, but he could hear. If I'm very busy looking outside, I'm not hearing what's going on, what's really going on in the Pnim, what's going on internally. I'm focused on the external. And that's what we need to focus on right now. Rebbeinu Shem is talking to us loud and clear. Very, very difficult times for Klal Yisroel. But for some reason, we didn't get it yet. We didn't get it from Meron. We need a Gaza. Rachmana litzlan. We need to hear. But we could ask ourselves the question, why did Rebbeinu Shem do this to us Erev Shavuos? Was it busy with all our hachonis for Shavuos to get ready for Kabbalas Torah? And we have to spend time with this? It's such a shter. It's such an interruption. Why would Hashem do this right now? He's doing it right now because to Mekabel the Torah is all dependent upon our shmiyah, our hearing. Nasev and nishma. We'll do and we'll hear. We'll understand. Torah means I understand. I understand the Darkei Hashem. And we see that the Parsha Matan Torah is where? In Parshas Yisro, which begins, Vayishma Yisro. Yisro heard. Here he was Kohen Midian on top of the world. Everybody zara he had done. And he heard what? He heard Kriyas Yamsuf, Mechias Amalek. Rebbeinu Hashem has complete dominion over the world and the physical world. And Mechias Amalek and Hashgocha, that he took out Amalek for us. He heard one thing, Ein od milvado. There's nothing but the Rebbeinu Hashem. I'm willing to give up all my station, all my prominence, all my covet, all my power, everything, because I want emes. The shmiyah. When a person hears, he can become transformed. And that's as we come to the day of Kabbalas Torah, as we come upon the Shavuos, hours away, we need to be ready to hear. And it could be the Rebbeinu Shalom is sharpening that our ears right now. We need to hear what's going on. We need to hear that Kodesh Baruch Hu is speaking to us. And he's about to speak to us on Shavuos. It all depends on how much we're ready, willing, and able to sharpen that Koyach HaShmiya. Be'ez Hashem, there should be a Kabbalah Satorah like none other. Be'ez Hashem, the Baruch Hashem, Sha'achamonis on Klal Yisroel. We should finally understand what he's telling us. We should bring Mashiach Tzidkenu b'mheirav yameinu.